Hey there everyone, in today's video, I want to take the report that we built in the last video, this basic mapped balance sheet, and I just want to add a choose box to it and make it a little bit more flexible for the users. Because let's be honest, we don't want to have a report that we have to go back and, and update manually every year, every period, or whatever. We want this stuff to be as dynamic as possible. Okay, so in this video here, we're going to be introducing two concepts, those being the choose box and form variables as well. Although I don't want to dive too deep into those, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we have our mapping here from the last video. What I'm going to do is, and what you'll oftentimes see is you might see this labeled like section 1 because that's what we had it be. Throw a couple borders on there, do something like this. Okay, and then we might have something called selection. Okay, and here we're going to determine what do we want to select inside of our report. Okay, and I want to be able to select my entity. I want to be able to select my year as well. Those two, that works for me. Okay, and just to stay consistent, I'm going to put page there. I'm going to nab some formatting here, and now we're going to head over to Vena. We're going to say page, but this time we're going to take this box here, this section, and we're going to call it selection. Okay, and in our dimensions we're going to say entity, and now what we're going to do is we're going to just open up all entities here, and I'll make a separate video right after this going over how to make this stuff dynamic, because there are a bunch of options here, but I think it deserves its own own talking point of how to make these choose boxes be dynamic. But for the time being, you can just click over all the options you want to see in your choose box, which sometimes might even be better than dynamically doing this stuff, because it gives you a lot more control on what users can and cannot see. Okay, so I'm just gonna click OK here. And now if you'll notice, we head over to our choose box. It's no longer grayed out. We can actually select our entity, right? But you'll notice that even though we're changing this, we're gonna click OK here. It changed here, but you'll notice the numbers in our report here, they haven't actually changed. It's still the exact same stuff. So we need to actually connect our choose box to the report mappings itself, okay? So in order to do that, we can head over to actually, let me add the year as well, okay? Page, selection, remember selection, year, all years. I'm gonna provide a couple of options here, okay? So now if you open this up, you can see we have 3 options there for our year, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here to year, and I'm actually gonna select year, and I'm gonna select entities, and I'm just gonna clear mappings, okay? And now I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to go page on where that entity mapping was, but I'm going to update this selection to be S1 again, because we want to map our report here, and that report was tied to S1. Okay, and we're going to update the dimension to be entity, and then we're going to scroll down to the bottom here, and we're going to open up this part here, and we see selection : entity, and that's basically telling Vena that we want to map whatever was chosen for entity in the section of selection. That's what we want to put into S1, okay? So in other words, it's just basically saying, I want this here to always equal this. That's basically what we're saying. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the year. Hit the page, go change the dimension to year, and I'm gonna go to section, we see selection : year, click this, and now you'll see that will be tied to whatever is in our choose box. So now if we head over back here and we go to our choose, we say Chicago for 21 and we hit OK. Now we see no data. Now was this, okay, I think it was because we were 2020 had the data, right? Okay, cool. So now we see our balance sheet for Chicago. And we can come up here and we can change it to NYC and so forth. Okay, so another thing just to make the reports a little bit better, now this isn't necessarily Vena related, But what I like to do in my reports, for my selections, I like to put another column to the side here, just call this name. Okay, and now I'm gonna say equals D13. I'm gonna drag this down. I'm gonna give us a named range. Okay, now you don't need to give it a named range, but this is just what I like to do. Okay, I'm just gonna say entity, and I'm gonna I'm gonna call this year. Okay, now I'm gonna head back over to my other report here. I'm just gonna say equals entity. Okay, I'm gonna say equals year. Okay, just so that now when you're going through and making changes to the choose box, you'll know exactly on top of the report what that was for. Okay, I know that I chose this for New York and the year is 2020. Okay, and that's kind of how you can go about adding a choose box to reports. Awesome. Hope this helped in some way, and I appreciate you watching.